Hello, my name is Dan Skipbound, and I'm here to do a special top 10 list. A buddy of mine who's got a really cool YouTube channel called Mid-Level Media is doing a kind of a special month. January is Westerns month, and January is a special month for me. So I thought to myself, you know what, I want to kind of get involved in Westerns month because I'm a huge fan of Westerns. Westerns have been something that I've been watching since I was a little kid, which is quite a long time. And I mean, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, Henry Fonda, Jimmy Stewart, you know, it goes way back. You got remakes of classics from the 60s and 70s and 50s, like the Magnificent Seven and True Grit and 310 to Yuma. But you got modern westerns that really take this genre to the next level. For the sake of this video, I'm going to just use visual cues of DVDs. I have some of these on 4K, and so, but it's hard for me to get them out right now. So, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use the as visual cues DVDs of some of these, and I might even throw in a couple TV shows. So I got a bunch of honorable mentions. So let's just start off with some of the honorable mentions because I want to do the top 10 last, but just all these films are just incredible films, and so I just kind of want to say something about each one of them here. So one first time watch was I watched on the Criterion collection. I happen to own it, and that's My Darling Clementine, starring Henry Fonda, which is a kind of a Tombstone film. It's about Tombstone, and then of course years later we got Tombstone. So that's very interesting that My Darling Clementine is about Tombstone, and it's about the Earps, and Henry Fonda plays Wyatt Earp. So that's kind of cool. So that was the first time watch. I had never watched it. I owned it, but I watched it the other day. So another first time watch of a film that I had never seen before, and it's a nice special edition. Another Criterion that I watched, and it also comes with a book. They actually book that the movie is based on, and that's The Furies, and that's a 1950s film from Anthony Mann, and that was very interesting. Another Western that I hadn't seen, but the element was kind of fascinating how they filmed some of these older films, and Westerns were kind of a hard film to film back in the day because it was a lot of production value, and they still look pretty good. It's about T.C. Jeffords, and Walter Houston plays him in the film. So that's another film I had never seen that I only watched very recently for my buddy's Chasing Labels podcast, and about my best releases of 2021, and one of them was Django, and this is an Italian Western set in, the spaghetti Westerns and whatnot. Django is a film by Sergio Corbucci, and it stars Franco Nero. And wow, what a gorgeous looking film this is, Django. So I wanted to just mention that really quick. And it's, of course, you had the Tarantino film Django Unchained, which is based off of, there's a lot of different Djangos over there, but this is the original Django. So there you go as far as that goes. And as I said, I was going to, maybe mention, here's a film with, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about two powerhouses, two of the best actors of their generation, maybe of all time, is the Man Who Shot Liberty Valance with Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne. What a great film this is. Just, when you only got 10 to choose from, it's hard it's hard to pick 10. And these honorable mentions, there's no ranking or anything. I'm just kind of going off the cuff here with the honorable mentions, but I could only do 10. So some of these great, these might be on your top 10 list. And so, I'm just going off of my own top 10 list. And so that is not on there, but it's a great film. So I don't know what else I could say about it. Another one that I freaking love, and it came close to making the list, and it just kind of missed the list by very, very shortly. This is a film that has one of the best looking old west or the western genre. I mean, just it's a modern film, but it stars Brad Pitt and Casey Affleck, and that is the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. What a gorgeous looking film this is, and a really cool story too. You know, two Oscar winners at the time. Neither one had won an Oscar, but since they both won Oscars, Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea and Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So yeah, I can't say enough about that film. That is a great film. Definitely recommend it. I'd love to see a 4K of that because I mean the DVD looks good, but it's not out on 4K yet. So and like I said, I might mention some TV shows. Even though there is a lot of great westerns in the movie theater, one of the things we once in a while we get a great western TV show, and that I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I absolutely love this, and that stars Robert Duvall, Tommy Lee Jones, and Angelica Houston, and that's Lonesome Dove. What a great series this was. I mean, I think it won a bunch of Emmys. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. If I'm wrong, say something in the comments or whatever. But what a great show. I mean, all kinds of great actors in this. Danny Glover is in here. Diane Lane. Who else is in here? Freddie. Is it Freddie Prince? I don't know. I can't. There's names on the back of it, and I just can't see the names. So I'm sorry. But Robert Urich. Yeah, there's so many great actors in this show. I mean, I loved this when I was growing up as a kid. So that tells you how old I am. That I remember watching Lonesome Dove when I was a child. But I mean, it's one of those shows that just people just gravitated toward it because it was just so good. Another oh, never mind. I thought I had another one here. Oh yeah, I got one more show coming up here. You're gonna see a lot of this guy on the list, but this is one of my favorite Clint Eastwood films, and that's The Outlaw Josie Wales. Yeah, that's just the first of probably a handful of Clint Eastwood. I mean, if anybody, there's two people that really people they think of when it comes to the westerns, and that's Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. So I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't put Clint Eastwood or John Wayne films on my list. So, but these right now are honorable mentions. Here's a modern day western that I'll tell you right now, if you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend it. It was an absolute revelation when I went to the theater and I saw this, and I was like, well, I'm going to buy the DVD when it came out, and that is it's called The Proposition, and it has Guy Pearce, Ray Winstone, Danny Houston, John Hurt, David Wenham, and Emily Watson. It is, oh God, what a great film this is. I mean, I'll tell you, it's directed by, let me see here. I'm looking at the back. I'm trying to find out who directed this, and I just can't for the life of me. The box is kind of sticking together here. The words are too small. I forget who directed this, but it's a rated R Western, so it's not. They ain't messing around. There's blood. Here's some quotes about The Proposition. Stands alongside the best Peckinpah, Eastwood, and Sergio Leone. That's from the New Yorker or whatever. Two big thumbs up. Ebert and Roper. It's savage and bloody and makes for compelling viewing. People magazine. The Western is alive and well. You know, classic one cool film. That's Entertainment, the Insider, Entertainment Insider. Just various quotes that were taken and put on the cover. Just you don't have a lot of modern day westerns that really can stand up with the classics. But the proposition is one, and another one. I thought I owned it, but I guess I don't own it. Is Bone Tomahawk. Oh God, want to talk about a violent western with Kurt Russell, Jim Caviezel. I mean, I think it's Jim Caviezel. Yeah, I believe it's Jim. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me. Let me. You know what? I'm gonna look that up right now. I think it's Kurt Russell, Jim Caviezel are both in it. I'm just gonna make sure because I don't want to get called out. Oh, you get your. It's Matthew Fox, Kurt Russell, Richard Jenkins, Patrick Wilson, David Arquette. I mean, what a cast. Sean Young. I mean, so many different people that are in this movie. So it's not Jim Caviezel. It's Matthew Fox from Lost is who's in that film. Bone Tomahawk. So there you go as far as that goes. And like I said, another TV show I wanted to mention is probably one of the best westerns you'll ever see, let alone a TV show or a movie or what. And that is Deadwood. Now, that is a freaking amazing show. I got all 3 seasons on DVD, but you can find Deadwood if you're really wanting to watch Deadwood and you really want to see a phenomenal show. It's on HBO Max, and it stars Timothy Olyphant. You might recognize that name. He was in The Mandalorian. He played Cobb Vanth. He also had a long-running show on FX called Justified, a modern-day Western where he plays a marshal. So he plays a marshal in the Old West in Deadwood, and in Justified, he plays a marshal in the modern day. And also Ian McShane, a great kind of villain, the yin to Timothy Olyphant's yang in Deadwood. I cannot say enough about how the production value, the look of Deadwood looked. I mean, it's like you do not want to live in this place because it looked miserable, muddy, and cold and dank. And I mean, Ian McShane would kill some people or said, put out a hit on someone, get him, put him into the pigs, feed him to the pigs. It's some crazy stuff in Deadwood. But oh my God, I love that show. Then they just made a movie last year or the year before, I can't remember. So they kind of have a conclusion movie in a way. So that was neat that everybody came back together for that. I'm going to get some more of these honorable mentions here. Once again, another Clint Eastwood film, one of my favorites, High Plains Drifter. So you're going to be getting a lot of these. And, the thing about Clint Eastwood I love is he plays the loner, the lone gunman kind of guy, the surly look on his face. And he, Josie Wales, High Plains Drifter. And, there's another couple that are on the list that, I'm not going to name right now. You'll have to see. But he's so good at that, Here's one that, what an epic, an absolute epic. But boy, does it look gorgeous. And it's got, it has a cast of like who's who from the era of that it came out, on here. You got Gregory Peck. You got Henry Fonda. You got, oh God, I can't name all the names of the people that are in this movie. It's called How the West Was Won. It's like 3 or 4 stories, and they're all Western stories during the kind of settling of the Old West or whatever you call. And it's kind of really neat how the different stories intertwine throughout but you don't know where the stories are going to intertwine, but they kind of intertwine in a way. And you just got to pay attention to the film, How the West Was Won. and it's an epic, and it's an epic western. You've seen the epics, the Ten Commandments, the greatest show on earth, or whatever. Well, How the West Was Won was literally an epic. It was multiple stories, but just vast wilderness and the old west and the whole 9 yards. But wow, does it look gorgeous? It is a gorgeous, gorgeous looking film. Let me. I was gonna say who directed. I can't remember who directed. But here's another one, another film that's a great, great, great western, and that is The Wild Bunch. The Wild Bunch. Ernest Borgnine, William Holden. I mean, there's so many greats in here as well. So, and this, I think, don't quote me. I believe it's getting remade by um, Mel Gibson. I could be wrong. I can't. I know one's a Western, one's World War II, but I get them confused when it comes to if they're both getting remade or just one of them's getting remade, and that's Kelly's Heroes and The Wild Bunch. I thought I heard that Mel Gibson was doing The Wild Bunch. So, like I said, don't quote me. If I'm wrong, just comment or message me and let me know. I'll tell you what. I read this book when I was a kid, and I didn't realize there was a movie of it until something came along, and I heard there was a movie, and I was like, oh my god. Class. We were reading the book, and then they said, oh, there's a movie. And I was like, oh my God, is there really a movie? And of course, it stars one of my favorite actors of all time. And I've watched it, I don't know how many times as a kid. But Jeremiah Johnson starring Robert Redford. Oh, God, I love this movie. Some say he's dead. Some say he never will be. A Sidney Pollack film. Sidney Pollack is an actor, but also a director. He's done some really good work. Jeremiah Johnson is one of my favorites, and I just cannot get enough of that film. I read the book, like I said, when I was a kid, so the movie really one of the better adaptations of a book to movie as well. So there you go. And both versions of this one, this is a remake, but both versions of this are great. I mean, it's like a who's who of who's in these movies. The modern day version of The Magnificent Seven has Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, it's got a great, great cast. The older version of it, though, had like Hal Holbrook in it. Not Hal Holbrook. It's God. I always forget Eli Wallach was the villain. It's got Yul Brynner, I should say. Yul Brynner's in it. I own both versions on DVD, but I just saw that version, so I figured I'd just show you the new version. But the new version has really great. It's from Antoine Fuqua, I believe. Directed by, let me see here. Written, I thought it was Antoine Fuqua did this with but I don't know. Or who the heck directed this? I'm trying to find out who directed it. I thought I saw that it was Antoine Fuqua, but I mean I could be completely wrong. I'm bad with remembering who did what sometimes. I guess it was Lawrence Kasdan. Lawrence Kasdan, I think, wrote it and directed it. So there you go. I don't know why I said Antoine Fuqua, but here's another one, and you're probably saying to yourself, how did this miss the list? Because you only get 10. And I mean, the ending really rubs me the wrong way, but it's still a great movie up till the end, and that is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, starring once again Robert Redford, and this time around Paul Newman. They start together in The Sting, and then they rejoin each other for one of the great westerns of all time. Even though the ending still rubs me the wrong way, but yep, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Here's one that came close to making the list, but when you only, I'm going to sound like a broken record. But and that's Brokeback Mountain. What a just absolute love story set in the old West in Wyoming, and just I mean, Ang Lee directed this film with four great performances, really. Late great Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, and God, what's her name? I keep wanting to say, what is her name? Oh God, Linda Cardellini, Michelle Williams. That's it. Michelle Williams is in it. Michelle Williams gives a great. Anne Hathaway gives a great performance. But yeah, Brokeback Mountain. I mean, a lot of people thought that Crash shouldn't have won the Oscar that year. That Brokeback Mountain should have. So it's that good of a film from Ang Lee. But yeah, a different kind of Western though. Another one, like I said, Clint Eastwood's going to have a bunch. This nearly made the list. I mean, nearly made the list. But I had a Clint Eastwood on the list, and I was like, well, I don't want too many of the same people on the list. So I decided to hold off on one of my favorites of all time, and that's Pale Rider. And that missed the list. That was one of the last cuts that I had to make when I made the list. And another one, another John Wayne film. Once again, another film that was like a tough cut because you just couldn't get everything. But I do have some John Wayne on the list, so I was like, okay, well, the one I'm going to cut off is a great film, and that is The Cowboys with John Wayne. John Wayne, like I said, Clint and John, those are the two great, probably Western actors of all time. And so if you're going to make a list of the greatest Westerns of all time, you're definitely going to have some John Wayne and Clint Eastwood on the list. So now we're going to get into my actual top 10. And, like I said, this is my list, and you might not like some of these films. You might think I got too many modern films on the list, or you might think I got too many old films on the list, or whatever. Maybe you haven't seen any of these films. I hope you go and seek. Excuse me. I hope you go seek these films out, because when I was a kid, that's what I did. I watched. I had a TV station, and I used to see every Saturday it would be a different genre, and sometimes it would be westerns. And I just absorbed all this when I was a kid. And so that's it. If you're not into westerns, if you're a film fan and you really haven't got into westerns, this is your opportunity. Mid-level media, he's really kind of spreading the love as far as what a great genre the western genre is. And I've been watching westerns my entire life since I was about 5 or 6 years old. Like I said, on that TV station in Boston. You see, I'm a Patriots fan. I grew up in around Boston, so I had a local station. We used to have all kinds of different genres every Saturday, and I would just watch them all. All right, so let's get into it. This is a film this is an actual remake of another film. The other film is good, don't get me wrong, but this film took it to the next level, and with 3 amazing performances. And the 2 lead roles are Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. And then they also have Ben Foster as like a henchman. And that's 3:10 to Yuma, 2007. I mean, wow. I mean, there's so much to love about this film. And Russell Crowe, usually it's kind of shoehorned into the good guy in a lot of roles, and Christian Bale is kind of the bad guy a lot of times. Except you play Batman, but he's like this rancher who just kind of gets involved in taking Christian Bale's character to prison, and his son gets involved, and of course, like I said, Ben Foster plays Russell Crowe's henchman. Which, wow, what a turn! What a sinister turn he gives in 3:10 to Yuma. And this is the director is James Mangold. Okay, you might know him from Logan and films like that, or the Ford v Ferrari. So that tells you the quality of director. He also did like Walk the Line. So he's done a lot of great films, but this is his turn as a director of a Western. And he's doing the next Indiana Jones film. So James Mangold, keep an eye out for his next film, Indiana Jones 5. Number 9 is a film because I've been going through a bunch of Westerns because of Ken. Ken got me into doing a bunch of Westerns. But when I saw this, I instantly loved it when I was in the theater. I've been about 2006 because it got nominated in the 2007 Academy Awards. And it is an absolute classic as it's from the Coen brothers, and they won an Academy Award for Best Picture, I believe. I think they may have won a screenplay Oscar as well. That was the first time they won the Oscar. Just some quotes on the back. The Coens at the Peak of Their Powers by Peter Travers. Flawless, Roger Ebert. Just No Country for Old Men starring Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and an Oscar-winning performance from Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh. Oh, what a great! It's got Woody Harrelson in there. I mean, I can't say enough about that year. Had a couple great westerns. One of them I'm not as, I don't like as much, but a lot of people like it more than I do. But I love No Country for Old Men. So that was my number 9. My number 8, like I said, I told you we're going to have some of this guy on the list. But the one I had was because I just had to have him on here in this particular film. And that is True Grit. That's what John Wayne won an Academy Award for. Rooster Cogburn. Obviously, we got the remake, another Western from the Coen brothers. They remade True Grit, which was a great version starring Jeff Bridges. Had Matt Damon in it. Had not once again, I think Josh Brolin was in that one. Breakout performance from Haley Steinfeld in the new version. But yeah, I had the original True Grit at number 8, the 1969 version of True Grit on there. Another modern Western that I guess you would call it a neo-Western, where it's set in the modern day, but it's still a Western because it's set in Texas, and it's got marshals, and it's got robbers and guys that are robbing banks. And that's Jeff Bridges is kind of going after Chris Pine and Ben Foster. Once again, Ben Foster pops up. Once again, Jeff Bridges pops up. And that's Hell or High Water from Taylor Sheridan and Owen Gleiberman from Variety. A thrillingly good movie. 5 stars from, I don't know who this, USA Today. Yeah, it's a modern Western. This guy, we find out in the movie why they're robbing banks. And you feel for them, what they're doing. And of course, Jeff Bridges, he doesn't have much time left, and he's on his last leg. He's about to kind of retire. He's got these guys robbing banks, so he has to go after these guys. His Indian assistant, who's his like deputy or whatever, he's pretty good too. And I can't think of the guy's name right now, but Hell or High Water, phenomenal movie. So I got that at number 7 on the list. Number, like I said, I had a lot of Clint and John Wayne off the list because I knew I still had to put some on the list. And really the key part in this trilogy, the last part, and in a great, and I have this on 4K as well. Oh, by the way, I also have Hell or High Water and 310 to Yuma on 4K, but it was too hard to get them out, so I decided just to go with the DVDs as far as to show everybody what my numbers were. And but number 6 on the list is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just Lee Van Cleef, once again, Eli Wallach, and just Clint Eastwood at the peak of Clint Eastwood in the third part in the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly trilogy. But just an amazing film. And the spaghetti western was one of those things that Sergio Leone, he was a great uh, director, and he kind of created something that a lot of people would follow, but because the, the, the locations and where they filmed these in Italy kind of served the West pretty good. With, of course, it's got great music from Emilio and Ennio Morricone. Ennio Morricone. You might hear some of his music in some other films, one particular on my list, and then one called The Hateful Eight that I believe he won an Oscar for that, Ennio Morricone, for The Hateful Eight. Ennio Morricone did. But his music in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is amazing, and it's iconic. But yeah, Clint Eastwood as, kind of that drifter. He just makes this drifter character. He just becomes this drifter character. It didn't matter which one of these westerns he was in: Pale Rider, High Plains Drifter, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just these type of loners. He's got the cigar, he's got that scowl, He's just perfect as these characters, and he became an icon as these type of Western archetypes. So yeah, number 6 was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Now we're gonna go to number 5. Like I said, I'm a broken record, but his one had a lot of heart to it, and this is why I put it on the list. And I said we're gonna have some more Clint and some more John Wayne, and this time it's John Wayne in The Searchers, and he worked with John Ford a lot too. John Ford was a guy that really found him in Stagecoach, and then kind of brought him into like his movies, and he did a bunch of them with John Ford. And I think one of the best he ever did was The Searchers. I just absolutely love The Searchers. I could watch it. It's one of those westerns that you just got to watch it multiple times because there's so much going on. There's a lot of detail and things like that to pay attention to. A lot of these films, multiple watches will really help you because there's so many things going on in detail, things you didn't notice the first time you watched it. So that The Searchers was my number 5. And as I mentioned before in my honorable mentions, a film called My Darling Clementine. It was about Wyatt Earp and the Earp family and the Clantons and whatnot. Well, this version of the film is probably the definitive version now, even though we did get Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner, and that was a different Earp film. But I think the definitive Wyatt Earp story and is Tombstone, and that stars Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp and Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. But you also have like Bill Paxton, Bill Elliott. You have Powers Booth. What a great cast. It's directed by George Cosmatos. And I have this special edition that came out years ago. And I still have this, but I also have this now on. It has not been released, I don't believe, on 4K. But come on, somebody get that going. We want a Tombstone 4K. I'd love to get a lot of these films on 4K, to be honest with you. But yeah, so Tombstone was my number 4. My number 3, and I mentioned earlier that Ennio Morricone. You might hear me mention him again. And wow, oh my God. And this is a turn. This is a turn for one of my favorite actors who usually plays the good guy. Played the bad guy in this, and he was fantastic. And that is Henry Fonda. Stars Claudio Cardinale, Henry Fonda, Jason Robards, Charles Bronson, and another Sergio Leone film, Once Upon a Time in the West. Oh my God. The harmonica and that just how that music from Ennio Morricone just is like a character in the film. But just the look of the film is just gorgeous. And oh my God, you talk about a film I'd love to see a 4K of, Once Upon a Time in the West. And Charles Bronson kind of had this, this kind of thing going too, where he was like the reluctant hero type of guy, you know. But one of the first things I ever saw him in was Once Upon a Time in the West, and you know that's these are getting you talking to my top three, so that tells you how much I love Once Upon a Time in the West. I mean, Bronson and Henry Fonda are just great. And if you like Henry Fonda, just this is the first time you're going to see him as like the villain. I mean, he is fantastic as the villain, eating up the scenery. But yeah, another Sergio Leone, Italian. I think it's like the last one, spaghetti western he did. I think this is like the last one he did, and it turns out to be like the one of the best ones. But if I say anything wrong, just let me know in the comments. I'm not. Don't quote me on this stuff. Here's a film that I'll tell you what. I've seen it so many times, and every time I watch it, I notice something different in it. But it's really kind of one of the standards that westerns are kind of you look for, and you say, okay, what are the best westerns? Well, this film right here is one of the top. Well, I have it at number 2 because this is my personal list. You might not even have it in your top 10. I don't know. But if you don't, it's a travesty because it's Gary Cooper won an Academy Award for this, and it's Grace Kelly's breakout role, and that's High Noon. What it's a film where this sheriff is about to leave. He's going to retire, and this guy named Frank Miller, not the comic book creator Frank Miller, he's coming back into town on the noon train. He got out of prison, and he's coming for our lead character played by Gary Cooper, Will Kane. And it's also got a supporting role, supporting of Lon Chaney Jr. is in here as an older sheriff who's got problems with his hand. And the 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 premise is Will Kane, everybody abandons him. He asks for help, and even his girlfriend, who's Grace Kelly, leaves town just because they don't want to be there when Frank Miller gets back into town. And they all know that he's in trouble, that he's going to kill Will Kane. And it's got an amazing story. It's beautifully done in black and white. Gary Cooper, I mean, he's at the height of what he is as an actor. You know, Sergeant York, Pride of the Yankees, High Noon is one of those. And yeah, High Noon, I can't say enough what an amazing, amazing film this is. That's my number 2. So here goes my number 1. I'll tell you what. I saw this in the theater, and when I saw this, I was blown away because it flips the archetypes of what a bad guy in the Old West is and what a good guy in the Old West is, and it turns it on its head. And if anybody can take the Old West genre and turn it on its head with a script the way this is, acted by the way this is, and directed the way this is, it's won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. It stars Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris, and it is Unforgiven. I love this film. It has so much going for it. And you know, it takes the good guy and the bad guy and flips them. Clint Eastwood, you know, in the film it says William Money, he killed women and children, you know, but he's living on a farm and he's raising pigs until this little goofball blind kid comes looking for him, and he goes and picks up his buddy, played by Morgan Freeman, and because this girl, she was a prostitute, for lack of a better word, and she gets cut up by these guys, and they her and her other prostitutes raise enough money, and they hire William Money to go after the guy and the group of guys that did this to her. And the town sheriff is really a strict guy, but you could see he's building a house, and he's got boards everywhere. It's raining, and he's got buckets catching the rain, and he's a great town sheriff. No no guns are allowed in town, and with the whole reward comes people looking to capitalize on the. Richard Harris is English Bob, and he gets a beat down from um, Gene Hackman's sheriff character. But the things turn. I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but things turn, and the bad guy becomes the good guy, and the good guy becomes the bad guy. And I'm going to have you watch this movie because I don't want to give it all away, but it's just a phenomenal movie. And 1993 seemed like forever ago, but I don't think we've seen a Western this good since, and maybe even not before. I mean, arguably, like I had some amazing films, Tombstone, Once Upon a Time in the West, High Noon. Maybe you would have those films higher than Unforgiven, but for me, the best Western I have ever seen is Unforgiven, starring and directed by Clint Eastwood. And Gene Hackman, I might add, did win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Unforgiven. That tells you how good he is in the film. But so that's my kind of list with a bunch of honorable mentions. I got a lot of them in there, but I just wanted to kind of spread the love that Ken from Mid-Level Media started with this. I mean, he couldn't have picked a better genre for me because I just grew up with the Western genre, and I just love Westerns. I'm looking forward to any new Westerns. If Mel Gibson is doing the Wild Bunch, I could be wrong. I hope he is because I heard that's what was happening. I'm looking forward to a modern take on the Wild Bunch, So, my name is Dan Skip Allen. I'm a film critic in Orlando, Florida. I write for a website called disappointmentmedia.com. Also, I write on my own blog, fromthefourthrow.wordpress.com. So if you want to read anything that I have written, and I've written tons and tons. We're currently in the deal right now. We're doing Criterion collection special kind of articles on all kinds of Criterions. You're going to do one a week for the entire year. The year just got started, so we don't have a lot of reviews out this year, but I also am on a podcast called Gone with the Wind with my friends Malcolm and Abe and my good buddy Manning. So we do some awards coverage. Also, I have a couple YouTube shows that are on hiatus right now. One's called Top 5 Weekly, and the other is called Bleacher Features. But you can find me under my name, Dan Skip Allen, or From the Fourth Row at my letterbox, or my Instagram, or Twitter, or Facebook, or Instagram. Those are the kind of places that you can find me at DP Skip Allen, or From the Fourth Row, or Dan Skip Allen. I'm everywhere. You can find me, and basically anywhere you do see me or find me, you're gonna see me doing stuff about movies because I live, breathe, and eat movies. And you can see my wall behind me. I got some Oscar contenders behind me right there. So thanks, Ken, and thanks for this great idea to do my top 10 Westerns of all time. I had a blast getting into these, and take care.